Hello, fellow targeted individuals. Now, under the guises of diversity and inclusion, there are a variety of groups operating nationwide to promote alternative lifestyles, which even reach schools and communities nationwide. Some groups have the secretive goal to reduce police forces and to promote more of this self-policing where people go out and police the masses. So if you're a TI and you're being harassed in every state by groups of people, which when their tags are ran, they're coming back to people that are active duty in the U.S. Army in areas where there's not even a U.S. Army base, well, chances are that they are outsourcing. There are a variety of interagency partners which are outsourcing all throughout the United States, and they are utilizing radical feminist, LGBT, transgender people to surveil and in some cases even harass. If you're being targeted by a group of people, you need to understand that when they're doing this in the presence of your relatives, this has nothing to do with public safety, national security, homeland security, community revitalization, none of that. If you're doing the following, if you're staying away from scumbags, drug dealers, thieves, crooks, people which are doing illegal things, if you're staying away from those types of people, you don't hang out with scumbags, you're not doing anything criminal, no one should be harassing you. So what's occurring is that there are TIs which are exposing this stuff. And what happens is the more you investigate, the more you research, the more you discover, the more these people will target you because you become a threat to these movements. These movements go as far as the CIA, of course, Department of Defense, the FBI, and they may mask it as, oh, it's public engagement. We're protecting the nation. We're doing national security work. While the entire time, that target is every day going online, trying to communicate and find support. So some of these people may find themselves sleep deprived, going online, trying to figure out what's going on. How are they doing this? A lot of these people are regular Joes. They're not aware of Stingray technology. They're not aware of these different types of programs which can be utilized to create a backdoor to your cell phone or even clone it where you can be watched, where you can literally be monitored and harassed around the clock when you're outside your house. They are targets which are harassed by neighbors. You may find yourself harassed by immigrants, Israelis, contractors. You may find yourself harassed by Mexicans. I mentioned in the past at one time, Children and Family Services was giving money to Mexicans to do community policing towards certain people. This includes veterans, homeowners. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're targeted, you'd be targeted by illegals. So this was actually occurring to help fund sanctuary cities. I love Mexicans, I love all types of people. And I believe that even though I don't support the LGBT community, I'm not a part of it, don't want to be around it, don't want kids to be exposed to it, I believe that these people are entitled to the same rights and equal opportunities. But what's occurring is that we're saying, oh, some people, we're going to give you inclusion and diversity. We're going to promote diversity and inclusion, but at the expense of someone else's life, which a federal agency is saying that person's undesirable, we want to target them. Now, a while back, I don't know if they're a nonprofit, but it involves people which have worked for the National Security Agency. I found this very odd. It was a bunch of people in high positions in the National Security Agency, which all of a sudden started I think it was a nonprofit group or Maybe it's a grassroots organization, I don't know, but it's filled with high people in national security that all have gone against Trump. Now, I found this to be odd because how can so many people turn against a person which specifically worked for the National Security Agency? So we need to look at the agendas of our agencies. Go online and type up FBI and public engagement, or FBI diversity and inclusion, or InfraGard diversity and inclusion, U.S. Army diversity and inclusion, and look to see what is being promoted. I heard at one Army base they are promoting socialism. This is no joke, it was on the news. And at one time I heard the Army was even targeting people due to a list that the SPLC created. This is a highly liberal organization. So you'll notice that when something goes wrong in these programs, there's always radical feminists, oh, gun control laws, oh, violence. It's getting out of hand. But when I start examining all these programs which are being funded nationwide, and then I hear about reports of people being targeted, and there's many of them, hundreds of thousands of targets in the U.S. When I hear about these reports, I wonder, well, what is the government doing to reduce? If you see me looking back every once in a while, it's because I've seen a gator here one time. So when they come out quick. So I was over there and just came right out. So if you are a TI, understand that you're not going to be helped with this type of problem. One thing TIs may want to look at is the country of Nicaragua. Nicaragua has very affordable rent. I've seen a place that's like 3,000 square feet for like $500 in Nicaragua. And I've seen some for $350, $400. Huge. And food is dirt cheap. Most likely you're going to start eating more healthier organic food. A lot of farmers in that country. There is downsides. There is a few things that are not good about the country, but there's a lot of positives. The country has had issues with the CIA. So for those which have been targeted by a targeting officer, someone in the CIA or DOD, and you go to this country and you mention, hey, you've been harassed by the CIA, and you go to a counselor, well, most likely they're not going to put down false information on your report. See, at one time, I didn't know any better, and I would go to counselors and I would tell them, look, I've been harassed by Citizens Corps. Hired a private investigator. Well, my doctor, Dr. Mamatha Bolanini, she used to work for the Environmental Commission. And I shared in a video on a low-key playlist. The channel is called City of Austin Video Files. You go to the very bottom of that playlist and click on the City of Austin playlist, and there's a video called like H8 harassed by HHS employee. I share his information. He used to work for the same Environmental Commission, and he has worked for DHS, for a DHS contractor and Health and Human Services, and this guy was harassing me. He'd walk out of his house and just whistle at me and walk right back in. Other neighbors were doing this. And I discovered from quite a few neighbors after 3 years of living at one residence that they were told that I was a sex offender, a murderer, an ex-drug dealer. When neighbors started running my tag, they were like, hey, this guy's not doing nothing like this. He's not charged. And he's putting ads on, the Nextdoor app mentioning he's being harassed, showing proof of harassment by women. So some neighbors got together and confronted me. They told me that we're really sorry. We were told by police to walk up to you if we seen you exit our homes and whistle, then go back inside. So police would honk the horns and wave at me and give me this shit-eat grinning smile. I could be exiting a dental office. I'd be harassed by women that are not there for a doctor's appointment. Then they may harass me with a postal clerk somewhere else. I'd be harassed by eating. I could simply just be taking a walk with family, and I could go at a gas station, buy a lotto ticket, put gas in my car, I'd be harassed. Go to the airport, I'll get harassed. So the harassment was systematic. Similar to community policing, but a lot more serious. So these programs have nothing to do with, these groups may say they do, but it has nothing to do with homeland security, national security, public engagement, community engagement, even though it may be done under such titles. These programs, whoever is handling these cases, doing this, getting involved in this case management through their targeting apparatus, is doing this in a manner to create a problem. Bear with me one moment. My phone is about to die, so hold on one second. Hopefully you guys can... Okay, my screen has gone black. Like totally, or I can't even see my screen. So bear with me one moment. I apologize. This happens when my screen gets really, really low. Hold on one second. Hopefully it didn't stop recording. Okay, so the people which are doing this stuff, they're doing this with intentions of inducing anger. That anger after weeks, months, typically a few years. For some people, after like 9-15 years, some of them may end up developing psychotic rage, where they will act normal, but when they're harassed, they may confront that group with psychotic rage. There have been a few cases that I've seen video proof of this with TIs through the years, and these people were normal, but they were sleep deprived, they were harassed by neighbors, they shared proof, they were systematically harassed, slandered, and then something happened. You will also notice that the FBI will slam phones on targets. Well, why would the Federal Bureau of Investigations hang up phones on people calling as a very last resort? Well, I can tell you why. They support the outcome of these activities. When people contact the FBI for help, that's because they're dealing with something serious. When I was harassed in Austin, Texas, I started recording what was going on. I have a cross, I actually have two of them, one in this car, one at home, and this is jam-packed. I have it with backup stuff, and my God, I think I've burnt, I don't know how many hundreds through the years. I've been a target since 1996, but I've used to have USB duplicators. I used to burn so much and share so much information on drives and share it with other people. Reporters, I went through the Gale's social media publication, sending stuff out. So the enemy will try to cause an emotional imbalance. Because first of all, you can't go to a counselor and talk about this stuff. You're going to be written off. If you do, you're lucky, because my last doctor, I mentioned that a while back, my doctor, Mamata Bolanini, she put down on my medical record that I stated I was being harassed by the FDA. I filed a complaint on her with the Texas Medical Board. And I had a friend with me, so I remember my mouth just opened up. I'm like, what the heck? I went with the private investigator reports, police reports. So I went there because I was having anxiety and I really felt like I needed something for my nerves. So when I started getting harassed by my neighbor, which worked for the Texas Environmental Commission in Austin, Texas, I decided to run my doctor's background to discover that she's been a stakeholder with Citizens Corps programs and the same environmental commission. She actually worked for this commission, but she's a medical doctor, which I found to be very interesting. So the Texas Environmental Commission in Austin, Texas is listed as a Citizens Corps partner. So I go to a place called Integral Care. They base their counseling on a sliding scale based on your income. And upon going there, a woman came in, pointed at me and says, "Don't believe nothing that he says." I went with the police report and a private investigator's report. As a matter of fact, the private investigator that was hired, he was actually in his car outside. He was like, "Look, if you have any problems, I'll come in and share video proof." So I do the intake form, mention that I was there for counseling due to an issue with the group called Citizens Corps. This lady's a secretary, no medical degree, no degree at all, and she's a volunteer for Medical Reserve Corps, puts down on my paper, delusional. First time there. So when I talked to the doctor, they was like, this woman puts down you're delusional. And I'm like, is she a doctor? And they're like, no, she's not. She has no medical degree. When I go outside, this woman that was there that came in, sitting down, never seen a doctor, walks out as I do, and she spits inches from my shoe. I found myself being harassed in every area of my life. This is no joke. I could literally just go to an ATM machine, like this place over here at Wells Fargo, and there'd be no one there. And then minutes later, 4 or 5 white cars would pull up, and the people all dressed and wearing black and wearing white earbuds. They may exit, walk up to me, and go one at a time, and then leave. So I would talk to police, and well, that's not illegal. It's not a crime. Aren't you sure? This happened hundreds and hundreds of times. So this is done to psychologically wear you out, similar to what Mr. Manchetta Esquire stated in a article that he wrote concerning citizens on patrol. That their thing is to wear you out psychologically, to cause you to move. And then when you move, you have to move again. This is done to cause a mental breakdown, to cause mass shootings, suicides, and it's legal. So domestic terrorism is something which is legalized. Supposedly we're in the land of the free, we have equality and all this stuff, Constitution. It's all trash now, people. If you're believing in those fairy tales, you're going to be sadly disappointed when you find out that everything you thought was true about freedom is all really a lie. There are kids right now, no joke, children, 20, 21 years old, on some basis under NSA contract, reading messages, looking at your wife's photo, her breast. And I'm not talking about people that are terrorists, regular Joes. They're not scanning for little keywords. So everything you can imagine, which is illegal, occurs within the United States through the government. From terrorism to the promotion of terrorism, to everything that leads to terrorism and the demise of society, from as far as their children, their mental state, their well-being. There are groups promoting this perversion movement, and this is to destroy the family unit. You may go to some of these fairs, you may see a Democrat booth to vote for Democrats, and you don't see the U.S. flag, you may just see the LGBT flag. I had to leave that booth. I was like, I don't want to be around this. I want to be where the people are that support America. But after a while, when you've been harassed, it's so much, and you're seeing it's military, U.S. Army, ex-Marines, ex-cops. It's And then you look at the George Floyd thing, and you see that right after his death, the police blue line stickers were being promoted nationwide at an alarming rate. I was like, holy crap. Even black people were like, what's going on? This is racist. So there is racism literally on both sides. Racism biases on both sides of the political spectrum, or the main ones. When you're a target, you can be harassed simply on the road. They'll use kids, they'll use firefighters, select ones, they may use youth preparedness groups, they may use some bubba down the road from your house that has ties to a hate group. As long as it leads to harassment, they don't care. And this is no joke, fellow TIs. I'm finding facilities where these people work at. I've been doing this since 1996, been targeted, but around 2003 is when I started researching more than ever to discover that this is a governmental movement. I've been mobbed by women, I can't tell you how many times, harassed. In Albuquerque, they even came with Department of Homeland Security shirts. Some of these women worked for the Fusion Center. Maybe they've toned down a little bit and realized that, hey, we can't be terrorizing people. But it's very obvious that the CIA is in some of these fusion centers. especially in Texas. And they do work with the FBI. Anyways, that's all I want to share. Let me go back home. Got one more thing. There is this movement to promote procurement within these diversity and inclusion groups. More than ever. I don't know how many billions are pumped into it, but it's being promoted in colleges. And with this is going to come a transformation of society. There's a book about social engineering on Amazon. It shows a guy like a puppet being moved with strings. I forgot the name of the book. It's like social hacking, I believe. And in the book, it talks about that targets, people which are targeted, will normally experience the same things in another state because there is a database concerning the strategies which are used on the target. And this is why targets are harassed in the same exact manner, state by state.